Dixon Smith. Been here 20 months now, I guess, something like that. September of 14. I've had the privilege of being in the CNIC enterprise now since 2005. I had 3 years as a base commander, Naval Base San Diego. Fortunate enough to select for flag out of that. Went to Navy Region Hawaii for 3 years, and then went to Navy Region Southwest for 18 months, Navy Region Mid-Atlantic for 14 months, and now up here. So married, 3 kids, love my kids dearly. I love them even more out of the house. And then you'll see Kiki out and about and around because she comes to the events that we have down in the atrium and stuff like that. So anyhow, welcome aboard. For some of you, welcome to this side. For others, welcome back, whatever the case may be. You guys are sitting here and doing command indoc all day today. Everybody's got 15 minutes with you except me. All right. I think it's important that you understand my perspective, where I'm coming from, what I ask each one of us to do in supporting the fleet fighter and family, and taking care of those that are executing the Navy's and our country's mission. All right. So that's why I want to spend some time. This is interactive. All right. It's a dialogue. If you all just sit there quietly and listen to me, you're going to fall asleep and then I'll get mad. You don't need to follow along, but feel free to take notes, whatever you want. The first 2 slides are a result of feedback. So I get feedback from every course we do here at headquarters, to include the indoc. And last time someone made a great comment. First time I've ever been in the Navy, I don't know about CNIC, I don't know the organization. And so we were trying to figure out where to put that, and I said, I got it. I'll talk to it. So for some of you, you know this, others you don't. All right. So this is the shore domain. So we were broken up, headquarters here in DC. We have 11 regional commanders throughout the world. You can see them on your slide there. And those 11 regions support 70 installations throughout the world. We've got, I think it's about 52 CONUS, and the rest are OCONUS overseas. I'm not going to walk you through the numbers there. You can kind of see what we provide and what we do. You can also see the numbers that we support and we serve throughout the world. All right. There are 52,000 of us within CNIC supporting the fleet fighter and family. All right. So it's a pretty big number. It's broken up between active duty, reserves, contractors, NAF civilians, and APF civilians. All right. We actually, the largest percentage, anybody have a guess what the largest percentage is? It's NAF. It's NAF. NAF is around 18,000 people. All right. So those are predominantly on the N9 side. So let's go to the next slide. So who are we at headquarters? This is how we're broken up on headquarters. So we do have a reserve admiral. Brian LaRoche happens to be a classmate of mine from the academy. He'll be here until the fall, retiring. I don't know who his relief is. You will see him in the building usually once or twice a month. He hangs out in the first door on the right when you come into the command suite down there when he's here. And so he takes on a lot of the projects that are specific projects that he can work remotely while he's doing his daytime job. And then he also spends a lot of time focusing on the reserve side and making sure we're getting good integration support with the reserves. Force Master Chief Thompson, he's not here today. Well, he's not up here right now. He's off doing something else right now. You'll see Force. I don't go anywhere on travel without Force. This is his 4th Command Master Chief tour, and he is absolutely phenomenal. And someday he's going to be a fleet, and I personally think he ought to be MCPON at some point. So then you can see NCODES and special assistants. NCODES report directly to Deputy Commander, Mr. Joe Ludovici. He's an SES Tier 3. You'll meet him and see him about. He's engaged. And then the special assistants all fall under the Chief of Staff, Captain Chip Rock. You'll find a large portion of the senior military here, the line officers specifically, have all had command of a base somewhere. So Captain Rock had Sasebo. If you go over to N3, we've got Joint Base Anacostia-Bolin over there. We've got Naval Station Newport over there, and Naval Air Station Jacksonville with the 3 COs that are over there. All right, so this is just kind of a layout of the headquarters and how we're set up here. Any questions, comments, thoughts on from an enterprise perspective around the globe or here at headquarters? Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
I have a question. Mr. Manley is the special assistant, is that correct?
Yes.
And he actually doesn't report to DCOM or Captain Rocklight, he reports to you?
He reports to me. So there are two that really report to me, the IG and OGC. All right, and I do, and so the reality is from administrative perspective, they flow in, deals with the chief of staff. So Mr. Manley makes his reports and does things with the chief of staff. He has direct access to me. He keeps me updated on what's going on. I do his evaluation every year. And so it just, so that's how it works. He actually truly doesn't even work for me. He truly works for the IG, much like OGC and Ms. Tristy works for the general counsel. All right, and you'll when you hear her talk, she'll talk to me as her customer. Okay. Other questions? Or client, I should say. She calls me a client, just like everybody else. So what I'd like to do after that is spend some time talking about our guiding principles, and then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the CNO's campaign design, and then finish it up with our objectives for 16. Guiding principles. My personal belief is we could do away with law, we could do away with policy, guidance, instructions, and if we all tried to do our job on a daily basis following the guiding principles, we'd probably get it about 95% right. So there's some words that are not written here, but when you look over these guiding principles, all right, what do they collectively, what do they kind of mean? What do they kind of mean to you? What are the unwritten words there? Remember, this is interactive. Accountability, what else?
Relationships.
Relationships, great. What else? I'm sorry? Professionalism. Communication, yeah.
Integrity.
I'm sorry?
Positivity.
We'll stop there. What's the golden rule? Yeah, do unto others, right? So, or treat others the way you want to be treated, right? Not necessarily the way you are treated, but the way you want to be treated. Golden rule. That's what this is all about, which is why I think if we just try to execute these, you get it about right. All right, so let's just kind of walk through these, all right? I published these the day I took command in 2014, and they're a compilation of growing up in my house with my mother and father and what they taught me and what I've learned and experienced from folks that I've had the privilege of serving with and following over the course of my career and just throughout life. Customer service to the next level. And by the way, these are in priority order. Right? They're all pretty close, but they're in priority order. They all are interchangeable, and you'll hear me talk about them all the time and refer back to them. All right? And the other thing about these, so as I indicated up front, I've had the privilege now of being part of the CNIC enterprise, the organization now for 11 years. There's no other place that I would rather be. This is an awesome organization. And all 52,000 folks, we've got a great team. All right? So when I talk through these, this is not about CNIC isn't cutting the mustard and we got to get our act together and get better. This is about, we're a really good organization. It's about taking it to the next level. All right? It's about going from good to great. Anybody ever read that book? All right? It's about going from good to great. So keep that in perspective, because as I talk through this and we have the conversation, you can go, my God, we're not doing real well. No, we're doing well. What happens if you don't continue to keep trying to improve? You stagnate. When you stagnate, what happens? Sorry?
Fall behind.
You fall behind. You start going backwards. All right? So this is about advancing the ball. Keep moving forward and pushing. So, customer service. How many of us have walked into a big box store or a restaurant or a hotel and had lousy customer service? All right? And how does that make us feel?
Angry.
Unappreciated? What else? Angry, yep.
You don't want to be there.
Don't want to be there. I'm sorry? Frustrated. What does it do to our mindset? Negative. So, and what happens when it puts us in a negative mood? So then we go to our next step. What tends to happen sometimes?
Carries over.
It carries over. All right? It carries over. Now, we had a bad experience. Whose problem is that? When we have a bad experience, whose problem is that? I'm sorry? It's our problem, all right? It's our problem. It's not our customer's problem. It's not the next person we deal with problem, all right? But we're human, human nature. You get in a bad mood, you tend to carry that with us, all right? And so the next engagement sometimes is negative, and we take our bad attitude or our frustration from the experience we had and we put it onto the next person, all right? Here's an example, all right? So I had to go over to the branch medical clinic here a while back, and I had to, for a blood draw. So I got there, gate's supposed to open up at 7:30. I go in, take number one, sit down. 7:30 comes and goes, no one's there. 7:35, 7:40, guy finally comes in, goes in, rolls up the curtain, calls number one. I go up, good morning, how you doing? He looks at me and he goes, not worth a crap. Well, I wasn't sure I wanted to give him my blood. And I started talking to him, and it turns out he was in a bad mood because he had a hard time getting on the base. It took him a long time. Now, he didn't realize I'm the one that caused that, and responsible for it. But that was his own personal problem. It wasn't my problem, yet he carried it on to me, all right, and affected the customer service. Now, conversely, we've all gone into those places, big box, restaurant, hotel, and we've all had a good customer experience, right? And how do we feel when that happens? Great. What else?
Treat the next person the same.
Valued. What was that?
Treat the next person the same way.
I think so. So we end up, I would submit we walk out of there with a little extra skip in our step. And it does carry on. It's a mindset. We feel good, all right? So when you're talking from an enterprise perspective, CNIC, all right, and people are coming to work every day, what's the first place they experience customer service? At the gate, all right? At the gate. Have we had good customer service at a gate?
Yes.
Have we had bad customer service at a gate?
Yes.
And when we have bad customer service, what does it do to us?
Feel frustrated.
Makes you feel frustrated, right? It sets the tone for our day. So now something positive is going to happen to get us out of that, all right? We're the same thing, all right? Every single one of us. Now, who here is in the customer service business? It's 100%, all right? And society is in the customer service business, all right? Who's married? Who's got kids? Customer service business, right? I'm all about customer service with my wife, all right? Same thing with my kids, all right? We're all in the customer service business. Who of us has got an inbox? Customer service, all right? We're all customer service. So I would submit, now let me back up a little bit. So I equate our ECPs, or our gates, as quarterdecks, all right? How many quarterdecks does this space have?
A lot.
So what do you mean by a lot? Define a lot. When you say a lot, what's in there?
Well, in my interpretation,
Every place is a quarterdeck, all right? Whether it's checking in at NGIS, whether it's coming through the gate, whether it's the administrative assistant, whether it's our inbox, all right, whether it's the gym. There are quarterdecks everywhere, and every one of those quarterdecks is a point of customer service, all right? Now, am I providing you all, am I providing the regions, and am I providing the installations all the resources they need to provide what the customer needs? Some of you know the answer, some of you don't because you just showed up a day ago. No. Do we have all the resources we need? No, we don't have all the resources we need. Absolutely not. All right? So folks, by definition, are frustrated at times with us because we cannot provide what they feel that they need. I would submit that customer service is even more important in that scenario than if you're flushed with resources. Because people come in to the engagement already assuming they're not going to get what they want. And then if you couple that with bad customer service, it's a pretty bad exchange. But you can deliver a message, hey, I can't provide because, all right? And we can be positive about it. All right? So that goes to how many answers are there to a question? Yes or no. All right? You can either say yes to something or you can say no to something. If you say no, what else has to come with the no? The why. No is a two-part answer. All right? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person you're telling no to is going to like it, but at least they're going to understand the why. It's important to put the why. So yes is a good thing. So there's a lot of no's. We do a lot of no's right now. We have a responsibility, each and every one of us, to put the second part of no on that, which is the why behind it. All right, so that's customer service. Brilliant on the basics. I love this one. How many of us have had to redo something because we didn't do it right the first time? I don't have enough extremities. Why does that happen? Why does that happen? I'm sorry? Attention to detail. What else? Moving fast. I'm sorry? Guidance. That's the second part of this. Absolutely. We'll talk about that. What else?
Lack of preparation,
Lack of preparation.
being human.
Being human. Yep.
Lack of the competencies maybe required for the job.
Lack of competencies. So, if I'm not providing you all the resource, are we fully manned? So we don't have all the manning. What's your inbox look like? Are you getting everything done you're supposed to be getting done, or is there stuff that's falling off the plate? Are we taking risk?
Yes.
Okay. So what does that tend to lead to? Because you're trying to get stuff out, right? So what happens? Make mistakes, you rush, you start cutting corners. All right? So then we have to go rework the package. So we have to rework it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. What ends up happening?
More stuff falls off because you're spending time.
It takes more time than if we had just done it right the first time. All right? What's the favorite cliche that we all love to hate about why we do something the way we do it?
That's the way it's always been done.
Because we've always done it this way. And what happens when we go pull the instruction?
Doing it wrong.
We find out we've always been doing it wrong. All right, I would submit we're not any smarter than the folks that have gone before us. Most everything is already documented in writing on how to do stuff. We just got to go pull the reference. All right, and look around. All of us have been around before computers, maybe. All right. So when they rolled out computers, what did we say? What did we say when we had computers? What's it going to do for us?
Saves time.
It's going to save us time. It's going to make things easier, improve processes, right? And when we did that, what did we do with the admin departments?
Cut it.
We cut them. Why? Why did we cut the admin departments?
We didn't need them.
We didn't need them because now we have computers, we can do it ourselves. So how many of us have a correspondence manual sitting on our desk right next to our computer? That's about what I normally see. All right? So what happens when the front office, wherever you've worked, asks you, where's the product you gave me or you submitted? Where is it? What do we normally say? Where is it stuck? It's stuck in admin. Why is it stuck in admin?
We gotta reformat everything.
Because they got to reformat everything. They got to fix the stuff that we were supposed to do if we had used the correspondence manual. And oh, by the way, what did we do to admin? We cut them. All right? That's basics. That's brilliant on the basics. All right? On the other side, you mentioned it, guidance. All right? Have I provided guidance to the enterprise for everything that needs to be done? No. No. All right? Regional commanders, they haven't provided all the guidance they need to their installations. COs haven't provided all the guidance they need to get all the things done on their bases. All right? Program directors here haven't provided all the guidance. Regional program directors haven't. That's leadership. That's our collective response. If we supervise and lead people, that is one of our inherent responsibilities is to provide that guidance. All right? Now, you go back into You know, don't have all the resources, things are tight, you cut corners, you can't, some of it falls off. All right, anybody want to take a swag? How many instructions right now we have at headquarters that have been in CHOP for over 1,000 days?
41.
Nah, it's about 4 that I know of. All right, it's about 4. 1,000 days, that's over 3 years old. About 3 years old. All right, that's ridiculous. That doesn't even talk to the number of instructions that have been in CHOP for 1, 2, 2.5 years, and there's plenty of them. All right, why do you think a lot of them are in CHOP? And can't get out and can't get signed? Things change. Yeah, things change because we're trying to get the 100% solution instead of getting out the 80% solution, which sometimes is okay, as long as you come back with the follow-up. But if something's 15 years old, I'd rather have 80% solution on how to do this stuff than 15-year-old guidance. What else?
They didn't clear it with regions or other.
Didn't chop it. A lot of it is also formatting, sentence structure, contradicting itself between paragraphs. All right? You would be surprised at what comes to my desk. And I kid you not. I am sometimes chopping instruction that is written on the junior high school level. All right? We're all high school, and I think almost everybody's a college graduate that works here. Yet we're producing stuff at some points not at the right level. All right? We've got to take pride in that stuff and be brilliant on the basics and get it right done the first time. On the guidance stuff, we've got to get the guidance out. Got to get the guidance out. So folks know what to expect and what's expected of them. Brilliant on the basics. Comments, thoughts? Oh, by the way, all this stuff, it's really easy for me to sit up here and talk about it and say this is what we need to do. How hard is it to do this stuff day in, day out continually? It's hard. I mean, with all the stuff that's going on, all right? So here's my commitment to you. Here's my promise to you, and here's what I ask from you. You have my commitment and promise that I'm going to try to do the best of my job, best of my ability, best of my job to hit this every single day. And you know what? I come up short every single day. All right? I miss on these things. But you've got my promise to do my best. And that's what I ask from all 52,000 of us. Is that fair? All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about the pressures that we're under as an organization. All right? And you can talk Department of Defense, you can talk Navy. I care about CNIC. All right? And we're just a microorganism of the Department of Defense and other businesses and everything else. We're under pressure. I'm not providing you all the resources you need. All right? So, let me tell you about the folks that I want on this team. So, who's played poker? My God, there's people who haven't played poker? Not when you were in high school or anything? All right. So, for those of you who have played poker, you get dealt your 5 cards. You got 2 choices. What are they? Play or fold. And if you decide to play, what are you trying to do?
Win.
Trying to win. All right? So here's my ask. All right? Here's my expectation for all of us. I am not providing you, I'm not providing the enterprise all the resources we need to do the job. All right? So I've dealt you a hand. I've dealt all of us a hand. And we pick up those 5 cards, pick up that hand, we got 2 choices. What are they? Play or fold. What does fold mean?
Quit.
Quit. Exactly. Fold means quit, go somewhere else, leave the enterprise. If we're here, that means we've decided to play our hand, the cards we've been dealt. And when we play our hand, what are we doing?
Trying to win.
Playing to win. So what I ask all 52,000 of us is to make that decision to play or fold, and if we decide to play, we're all in and we're playing to win with the cards we've got. Is that fair? Okay? Absolutely, I think so. Smart business decisions. Enterprise alignment, I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to guiding principles. Efficiency and ROI. I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to objectives for 16. The only thing I'll mention on ROI here, return on investment, we look at everything from a lens, return on investment, all right? Resources, time, people, money, all right? And then we make our decisions based upon ROI. And that's the right thing to do. But we have a responsibility. If there's something out there that we truly believe is the right thing to do for our customer, whether it be the fleet, fighter, or family, and it may not have a good fiduciary ROI, or it may cost more resources, but if it's the right thing to do, we have an obligation to go look through that, work our way through that, and decide it's the right thing to do. And if it's the right thing to do, then we got to figure out which Peters we're going to pay or we're going to rob to pay Paul. But we have a if it's the right thing to do for our customer, we have a responsibility to look at it, even if it's expensive from a resource perspective, time, people, money. Okay? But I want to talk about enterprise alignment here. There's two pieces of enterprise alignment. So the first one is from a CNIC enterprise perspective. Please know that I am all about standardization. I live and breathe standardization. All right? Why do you think that's important? Or why do you think I think that's important?
Reduces confusion.
Organization is playing off the same playbook.
Playbook, what were you saying?
Reduces confusion in the field.
Reduces confusion, what else?
Manages expectations.
Okay, okay, and that's also the second part of the standardization. What else?
Efficient.
It's efficiency. It's also about resourcing. All right? So we get our money from OpNav, all right? And so when we get our money, how do we get our money? What do? I'm sorry? Yeah, we tell them what we need, and we got to show them our homework, right? Well, if our homework is done differently at all 70 different bases, all 11 different regions, then how do we justify and validate what's the right way? And then they can start picking at it, all right? We've got to be standardized in the products we deliver, or not the products, but the processes we provide and deliver, all right? For whatever widget we get out, it takes some amount of pieces and parts to put in the black box to get that, all right? We have to define and we have to know and understand that. Now, are all 70 bases created the same? Absolutely not. And I guarantee, and I tell you, when I go out to the bases, and I've been to all 70 bases, all right, almost always within the first 5 minutes of me being there, they look at me and they say, well, sir, we're different. Well, I know you are. You're all different. You're just like my kids, all right? And oh, by the way, those of us that had kids, we treat all our kids differently, right? You got to raise them all differently to get them where you want. Same thing with our bases. So you got to understand, though, what the gazinzas are to get the gazoutzes, and then you take that model and you apply it to each installation and you modify it. You increase it, you decrease it, you move left or right, but at least you have a standard model. Because now we can go and justify the resources we need to FMB and the green eye shades. It doesn't mean we're going to necessarily get it, but at least we've got a good business case. All right? Now, some of you will come, so you guys have been here a while. You guys done a few data calls over the years? All right? They drive you nuts? Yeah. Why do we do so many data calls? Oh, by the way, this ties back into Brilliant on the Basics. Why do we do so many data calls?
The information is in different places.
Information's in different places,
Different formats, different people.
different formats, different people. What else? Think about the Brilliant on the Basics piece.
To get it right the first time.
Because we don't get it right the first time. We have to continue to do, because you have to continue doing the data calls over and over and over. All right, here's my favorite one was when I was at Navy Region Hawaii. Admiral Vitale was here at headquarters, and he was trying to figure out the number of racks or beds we had in unaccompanied housing. And I think over the course of 2.5 or 3 months, headquarters did 7 data calls on us. And it was driving us crazy. Oh my God, we got the same damn data call. We just answered that 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. Why do you think he did 7 data calls in 2.5, 3 months on how many beds we had in our barracks across the enterprise?
He was getting different, wasn't getting the same.
Because the number changed every single time because we didn't know how to count. All right, and if he's trying to provide a number and provide the product to justify the resources he needed to get the funding to support our barracks, if the numbers change every single time they come in, how comfortably is he providing that number up? He's not. And he had to do it 7 or 8 times before the numbers finally came in consistent 2 times in a row. All right, brilliant on the basics, because we weren't doing it well out in the field. All right, but it also goes to the enterprise alignment and the importance of standardization and knowing what we got and what it takes to do something. That's on the business side. The other side of standardization is from a customer perspective. All right, so how many of us have been to an Outback? You know what the menu is going to look like. You know the bloomin' onion is going to be there. You know the big steak knife is going to be sitting on the right-hand side of your plate. All right. You know what the decor is like. You know what it looks like. You know what you know what to expect when you go in. All right. How many product lines do we have? 122. We have 122 product lines. All right. Now, there's no lawyer. Well, there's a couple lawyers. There's a lawyer in here. All right. So, how many of our product lines are standardized and the customer knows what to expect every single time and it's repeatable? It depends. That's why I said the lawyer, you know. Some are good. Child care is pretty darn good. All right. You show up and drop your kid off, you know what you're going to get. All right. NJS is pretty good. All right. Now, oh, by the way, I just used 2 and N9. That's run like a business more so than our other product lines. And so if you're about profit loss, you tend to be more standardized because you're watching the spreadsheet. All right. But we're not that way everywhere. And from a customer, it gets frustrating. So the example I use, all right, are towels in the gym. All right. I spend time in the gym. So Naval Base San Diego, I got a towel every morning in the gym. I went to Hawaii, I got a towel. I came back to San Diego, different gym, I got a towel. I went to Norfolk, I got a towel. I go over here to the gym, I get a towel. The 3 months I was living out of a suitcase over at Joint Base Anacostia Bowling, I go to the gym in the morning and there's no towel. What's NGS's policy about taking towels out of the room? Don't do it. I took a towel out of the room for 3 months, all right, because you don't want to be near me in the gym without a towel, all right? So from a customer perspective, you've now put doubt in my mind. So Kiki travels with me a lot, all right, on my nickel, okay? Not of the government, it's my nickel, all right? Write that down, okay? And so we go to the gym in the morning, and she'll now look at me and go, should we bring a towel? Because we don't know what we're going to get. And oh, by the way, I've gone into some gyms, and they charge $1 for a towel. Others, you got to buy a card, and you get hole punches for towels. We're all in the same CNIC enterprise, yet we do it differently. And so now as a customer, I don't know what to expect. And we do that in a lot of different of our product lines. We've got a responsibility to be standardized. All right? Now, let's go back to the towel for a second. I do not blame the CEO of Joint Base Anacostia Bowling for taking the towels out of the gym. All right? He made the decision during sequestration when we said, go find more money. And he decided that was the least impact to his customers to take those out of the gym. So I understand why he made the decision, but from a standardization, customer service perspective, I disagree with it. Okay? So, makes sense? Smart business decisions? Comments, discussion? All right. Culture of continuous improvement. So there's a hint there. So what are my 2 biggest pet peeves? What do I focus on probably more than anything else? Anybody have an idea? My 2 biggest pet peeves, my 2 biggest focus areas. Base appearance is one. We'll talk about that in a little bit. What's the second one? It's not here. We're going to talk about it on the objectives.
Perception.
Pardon?
Perception.
Force protection. All right, force protection. All right. I spend more time on force protection than probably anything else I do. All right. I sleep well at night about most everything, even if we're struggling, with the exception of force protection. Force protection is the one area where we are in a 0 failure game. All right. We can fail in other areas, and it probably is not going to cost us a life. Force protection will. All right, so I'm not going to talk about force protection here. I'll talk about it a little bit later. The other one is base appearance. So why am I so anal about base appearance? It's your storefront. What was that?
Pride.
Pride.
It's the human element control.
Yeah, human element, control it, absolutely. What else?
I always found that if the physical appearance looks good, it means the programs are
yes.
good. It's like attention to detail.
It's attention to detail. It's also broken glass syndrome. All right? You provide good resources, people tend to perform well. Places look like crap, people tend to perform like crap. Absolutely. All right, so now this is one of the areas I get accused out of talking out of both sides of my mouth. Well, sir, if base appearance is so important to you, are you going to give me more money to fix the base up? No, I'm not. All right, so if I'm not, what am I talking about from a base appearance perspective? People. Okay. People, that's the customer service. All right, that's the pride. From a physical perspective, what am I talking about?
It's taking care of what we already have.
Absolutely. All right? Taking care of what we already have. All right? If we all picked up one piece of trash a day, how much trash would there be? 0. All right? Now, I come at that from a different perspective now than I did before I was a base CO. All right? Once I became a base CO and I found religion, all right, I hate trash. All right? I have picked up more trash in the last 11 years of my life than I did in the first 44. All right? It was being a base CO. All right? But it sets a tone. All right? If we all picked, you walk around with force, we could be out in the middle of town. Force cannot walk by a piece of trash. All right? I'll tell you, the cleanest part of this base is from this office to my house. And I know where all the trash cans are. All right? It starts with trash. But what else is out there? So how many of us have seen crappy looking traffic cones sitting around the base? All right? Or they're torn or they're black. Why does that happen?
They don't get replaced.
Yeah, people don't care. All right? They don't care. All right? What about the traffic cone? You guys ever seen the traffic cone sitting in the middle of a field somewhere? You wonder why it's there? And it's been there, it's now one with the earth? You know why that happens? It's because at some point the grounds maintenance contractor went out and the sprinkler head didn't retract, so he whacked off the sprinkler head, and so the next time the sprinkler came on, you had the geyser, oh man, oh my God, shut off the water, go order the part comes in, go to do the replacement, guess what? It's the wrong part. So then it just kind of falls off, never gets ordered again, the sprinkler never comes on again, the grass dies, and now the cone is there with the weeds all growing through it, and it's been there for a year. I see it all the time. Attention to detail, brilliant on the basics, base appearance, all right? Pallets. Pallets, they show up and they never disappear and they're laying around. Faded signs. I love faded signs. There's only 2 things a faded sign can mean. What is it? What are they? 1 or 2 things a faded sign means.
Not needed.
It's not needed is one. What's the other?
Sunshine.
We don't care about it. We don't care. All right? If you can't read it, then either you don't need it or we don't care to get it fixed. All right? But it makes a difference on the appearance. All right? It's about the standards. It's about caring. All right? Connex boxes. All right? I've never found an unlocked Connex box that I won't go in. All right? And what do you think I find in Connex boxes? What do you think I found? Huh? Junk. I have found parts from World War II. I have found Christmas decorations that have not been used in 10 years. I have found empty Connex boxes. Someone's paying for that Connex box. Why do we have Connex boxes? Well, but why are they on the base? Why do we have Connex boxes on the base? What was that?
Something got delivered.
Got delivered? Yep. Or people get it because we need space. So why do we need space? Huh?
Sometimes it's we don't have enough facility.
Well, and why don't we, and generally speaking, why don't we have enough facility space?
Well, I'd say there's 2 reasons.
Yeah, I'm only going to listen to one though.
Well, sometimes it's a matter of not using, like she said, using what we have efficiently. You have, like.
That's the one I'm gonna
this
listen
person,
to.
That's what we.
We're pack rats. We're pack rats. All right, so there's a thing called a BFR, all right? Basic facility requirement, all right? That every single command gets that says how many square feet they gotta have based upon the number that people got, what their mission is, and everything else. People hoard, people don't organize, all right? I can go into pretty much any closet in this building and I'll find the same problem, all right? I can go to people's offices and find the same problem, all right? And so I need more space. So we get a Connex box, and then we fill it up, and then we move to the next one. You know, I'm fortunate enough, and you all, if you haven't, you should have, but you may not have gotten an invitation to the open house on the 30th of June. Right? I won't let you up to my bedroom, but if you stand in my bedroom and you look out the back window, there is an Enterprise rental truck that has been there since I've been here, and it's never moved. Someone's paying for that damn thing. I know who it is. It's MSC. Is paying for that thing. And every once in a while, I see someone come out with a bunch of files and put it in there. And I'm like, really? It's costing money. All right? Tenants are like molasses. They spread really easy into space that's unoccupied, but they're hard as hell to scrape up and get back in the original container. All right? But that all contributes to the base appearance. All right? Now, did I spend a little time about base appearance? Yeah, it's important. It sets a tone, all right? Sharing the lessons. That's on me. I have not gotten that put together for an enterprise perspective, but that shouldn't stop us from sharing lessons, good ideas. Every time I go to an installation, I see something that base does better than the other 69 installations. And if that's the case, why aren't we doing that across all 70 installations, especially in this resource-constrained environment? We have a responsibility to do that. Different regions do things different ways, all right, or they stumble upon something. Our program directors talk to each other. You all talk to your counterparts. Region program directors, region program managers talk to their counterparts. Installation directors, installation COs talk to each other. We need to be willing to share those good ideas, all right? Be proud of what we're doing and talk it up. Conversely, we also need to be receptive of them, all right? Sometimes what happens is someone says they got a better way of doing something than us. What do we tend to do sometimes?
We do. It's our damn directors. No, you don't.
Yeah, we tend to do the Heisman, all right? Because we're all type A professionals. We're doing the best job we can. All right, and we're prideful of what we're doing. So what do you mean you got a better way? I'm doing it good. There are better ways out there, all right? And because people learn, and we got to be receptive to that. Last part of this, continuous improvement, is critical introspection. Two pieces of this, personal and professional. Professional first. I ask each and every one of us, all right, all 52,000 again, all right, when we're standing in front of the mirror in the bathroom in the morning, all right, doing our hair, shaving, makeup, teeth, whatever it is, look ourselves in the eye. And I ask us every morning when we look ourselves in the eye, am I doing everything within my ability and the resources I'm provided to take care of my customer to the best of my ability? And if we're not doing that, I ask us to double down on doing it. And if we're not willing to double down, I ask us to do what? Fold. We have a responsibility to our customer to do that. All right? And we have a responsibility to the Navy to do that, and the taxpayer. All right? The other side of that is the personal side. Second part of that conversation, looking in the mirror. Am I doing everything within my abilities to take care of myself mentally, morally, and physically? Am I doing everything within my abilities to take care of myself to set me up for where I want to be 5, 10, 15 years down the road or in retirement? Am I doing what I need to do to take care of my family? All right? Now that's hard. What am I talking about? I'm talking work-life balance, all right? And work-life balance is hard, all right? Again, we're all type A's. We focus on the job. Sometimes we tend to forget the family side. You know, sometimes some folks are focused more on the family side and don't do what they're supposed to be doing in the job. That is a hard balance, but we have a responsibility to make sure we've got that balance right and that we're taking care of ourselves. All right, we're taking care of the customer on the professional side, we're taking care of ourselves, and I would submit more importantly, our family on the personal side. All right, so that's continuous improvement. Last one. This is really about the bases, but I think it's important we understand it here at headquarters. So the bases and the regions truly are the face of the Navy in their community. Now, they may not know all the answers for all the tenets and all the things that happen on the base, but they are the face of the community. There's a lot of things that are really important that the CO has to focus on, and there's his number one responsibility: force protection, safety, care and feeding, all those kind of things, all right? They're all important. The CO is focused on it. What is the CO's number one job? Why does that base exist?
Support the warfighter, the customer.
Okay, support the warfighter. So what's another way to say that? You're right. What's another way to say that?
Protect the US.
I'm sorry?
Protect the US.
Okay, all right. I'm looking for a specific word. Bingo. All right, those are exactly right answers, but it's about the mission. And it's not about the mission of the base. It's about the mission of who? The warfighters. It's about the mission of the tenants. All right? The only reason our bases exist is to support the tenants on that base. And generally speaking, and a tenant could be one tenant on a base to 350 tenants. And generally speaking, there's some prime movers and then a bunch of other tenants that support those prime movers. All right? What's the biggest threat to a base, to a tenant's ability to execute mission? You're not allowed to answer it. All right? What's the biggest threat to our bases?
Lack of facilities.
You've heard it before. You're not allowed to answer it either. Lack of facilities. All right. True, but bigger than that. I mean, that is, we're struggling on resources to get the facilities we need, but it's bigger than that.
Lack of readiness.
No.
Reputation.
No. Well, I could turn reputation into the answer. It's okay. Go ahead and answer it. You answer it. Come on. Encroachment. All right. You guys heard about encroachment? You know what encroachment is? So, why do our communities care about the installation that's in their community? And it has nothing to do with about patriotism. Why do they care?
Their property values.
Why do they care about that installation being there?
It disrupts what they want in their lives.
You're answering it the wrong way.
It's money.
It's about resources. It's about jobs. The only reason those communities care about that installation, because it's about jobs. It's about the economy. And do you think if they could figure out another way to generate more revenue out of that property than a base, do you think they'd go after that? Absolutely. All right? The biggest threat to executing mission is encroachment. And encroachment comes in many shapes and forms. All right? It comes in real estate. It comes in environment. It comes in noise. All right? It comes in water. There's all kinds of different things, different types of encroachment. And I can walk you around almost all 70 bases and describe an encroachment challenge that they are facing. All right? So, if the biggest threat is encroachment, and the reason the community cares about the base is jobs and economy, how do we minimize or defeat that encroachment challenge? I'm sorry?
Perform at the top level.
Yeah, but what do they don't care how we perform. All they care about is the money.
Be active members of the community, support local businesses.
Yeah, but what are you supposed to be doing? What do we need to do? What do we need to educate them on? Educate them on the value. It's about the value that installation brings. All right? And I expect every one of our installations, all right, and not just the CO, all right, but folks in leadership position and folks who are out in the community understand what their economic impact is to that community. All right? What value they bring to that community. Most of it is economic, but there's other things. There's volunteerism, all right? There's protecting something else from moving in, all right? And the story's different at every single base. It's really easy to talk about economic impact in Hampton Roads and San Diego because the bases are right there, right? It's a little bit different, a little bit more difficult to talk about economic impact when you're in the Northwest, all right? And the hub is Seattle and none of the bases are near Seattle, all right? Or it's kind of hard to talk about economic impact when you're talking about an outlying field, Coopville, up in Washington, that the local community who see no economic return on investment from that outlying field, just listen to growlers taking off and landing, How do you work that encroachment piece? All right, that's the CEO's job. It's about educating and talking to the community, making sure they understand the value. And you can talk that value stream in many different ways, but the fundamental one is from a fiduciary piece. That's really the CEO's number one job. All those other things are important. I'm not trying to diminish any of that. You know, I could provide all the resources in the world to the installations to make them 5-star installations, but if the tenants can't execute their mission, it's all for naught. So I don't want any of us to ever lose sight of why we exist. All right? It's about the tenants, and it's about their ability to execute mission. So that's the guiding principles. Any comments, thoughts, discussion on guiding principles? All right, so let's go to the next slide. So if those are the guiding principles, and if it really is about treat others the way we want to be treated, not necessarily are treated, but the way we want to be treated, then I would submit that these are the qualities of those guiding principles. All right, and we're not going to walk through each one of these, but I mean, if we just take customer service, if it truly is about customer service, it's about being responsive. It's about being humble. It is about respect. There's another word that's not up there. Someone, when we were doing one of these a couple months ago, they gave it to me, and it's an excellent word. And he asked if I was going to put it on there. I told him no because it's already been published, but it's a great word anyhow. The word he had was available. And if it's about customer service, it's about available. How many times have you left a message with someone and they never responded? How many times have you sent an email and no one's ever replied back? How many times has someone left you a message and you haven't responded? Or they sent you an email and you haven't responded? That's available. That's customer service. All right? So you've got those. Again, so these are the guiding principles. We all can't hit these things out of the park every single day, but what I do ask of all of us is to try to strive for these to the best of our ability on a daily basis. And if we do that, I think we're going to keep advancing the ball. Okay? So those are guiding principles. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So let's shift and talk a little bit about CNO's campaign design. CNO spent a lot of time putting this together as he was getting ready to transition and take over as the CNO last fall. And he calls it a design, campaign design, because it's meant to be changed. All right, if you look in the top right-hand corner, all right, it says 1.0. He means to change this because things are not static. They're not status quo, and it's going to need to evolve. All right. I would ask you to go on to just Google the CNO's campaign design, all right, and read it. And it's also available, I think, on G2. I think it is, right?
I'm not sure.
If it is, make it happen.
Absolutely.
There we go. All right. It's only 8 pages long, and it's got a couple of pictures. All right, so it's pretty easy to read. All right, but this is, he calls this his placemat, and this is kind of how he put it together. So he does not use this. I like the template because it fits on one slide, not 8 pages. His mission statement, all right, his core attributes: integrity, accountability, initiative, and toughness. And then his 4 lines of effort. All right, so it's about C-Power, it's about learning, high velocity learning. We'll talk about that in a second. It's about strengthening our team, all right, and it's also about our partnerships, all right. They're colored. It's not LOE 1, 2, 3, and 4. He uses the colors and he talks about the colors. Why don't you think he numbered them? Yeah, he didn't want any prior. There's not one more important than another. He meets on a regular drumbeat with the leads on each one of these. So what we did is we took the CNIC objectives and we mapped our objectives to each of the lines of effort. I think that's important because I think we all need to understand how we, CNIC, how the shore fits in to his campaign design. All right. So let's go to the next slide. This is our design. Okay. So the first year I was here, I didn't put out strategic guidance because it couldn't get it below 40 pages, and I'm not going to read 40 pages, so I couldn't expect you guys to read 40 pages. We finally got it down to about 12, and I was really proud of myself until the CNO came out with 8. And he's running the Navy on 8 pages, and I'm running just a piece of the Navy on 12 pages. But it's a pretty easy read, and I would ask you to read our strategic guidance, because really what it is, it's only a couple of pages of strategic guidance. It's the guiding principles, and then it's our report card on how we did on 15 objectives and what our 16 objectives are. So, mission statement, just like the CNO, our guiding principle. Different words, same core attributes, really, that he has, all right? And then our 3 lines of effort, all right? Fleet, fighter, and family, all right? And then our objectives under each of those lines. What I'd ask you to focus on, though, are the 3 red boxes, all right? This is really what he is asking us to do, all right? We're not going to get more money. We can't, and because we're not going to get more money as a Navy, we cannot continue to do business the same way. We're just going to die, all right? We've got to figure out how to deliver our product a different way. We've got to really do some radical stuff. And that's hard. But that's what he's asking all of us to do. And he wants us to figure out how to do it faster. Now, when you hear do stuff faster, what's the first thing that pops in your mind? More work. Right? More work. I'm not giving you the resources you need. And now I'm telling you to go faster. All right? Go back to brilliant on the basics, go back to work, all those things, okay? So if you want to learn faster, you got to figure out how to do it differently. If you look at these down here, so sustain the fleet, all right? Examine organizational relationships. What does that mean? Examine organizational relationships. What is that talking about?
You mean external or internal or both?
Internal.
Partnerships, ability to work together?
Yeah, it's like, are we structured correctly? All right, so I'll tell you a couple of things that are being looked at. Not yet, all right? So one of the tasks he's got out to the 2 fleet commanders, Fleet Forces Command and PAC Fleet, is, are you 2 set up right? All right? Should we be shifting responsibilities? The next thing that's come is CNIC in the right place. Should CNIC work for Fleet Forces Command? Should it be an S3 instead of an S2? My comment is to them, hey, we'll do whatever the Navy wants us to do and we'll provide the service. My responsibility is to make sure that they understand what the full scope and magnitude of what CNIC is and does. All right? But that always causes stress. Should CNIC and NAVFAC be one organization? There's pros and cons to everything. All right? Enable the fighter. Explore public to private partnership opportunities. All right? So one of the things I look at, we have high voltage electricians in the Navy. If you go down to Hampton Roads, so does Virginia Beach, so does Portsmouth, so does Norfolk. So why are we all providing high voltage electricians? Why isn't just one of those entities providing it and the others buy service from it and get rid of the overhead and the infrastructure for that? I don't know. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about that. So obviously in the facilities where we look at a lot of stuff to do partnerships with other entities, but there's also a risk factor in terms of control for strategic things. So what are your thoughts on that?
There's pros and cons to everything. We have outsourced some stuff that could come back to bite us. Given where we are, I think we have to go look at it. But and so I'm not going to sit here and tell you whether I'm for it or against it. I would tell you I'm for it or against it depending on what the issue is and how well we've done the homework. One of the things that we don't do very well is we don't look at second and third order effects. We have to truly understand what the second and third order effects are. Something could look really good on the cover, and it's the right thing to do. But when you execute that, what are the unintended consequences? We've got to understand that, all right? You know, this one kind of bleeds over and support the family. They're both the same. I used high voltage electrician under, the fighter. Supporting the family, here's one of the questions I ask myself. Why are we providing the same level of quality of life services in fleet concentration areas, metropolitan areas, as compared to over-the-horizon bases? Why do we have the same quality of life services available at Naval Base San Diego as Lemoore or Meridian? the resources are all out in town. So why do we have the child development centers? Why do we have the gyms? Why do we have the hotels? Think about all the infrastructure. Think about all the manpower. That's a big, big bill. Now, I'm not here to tell you what the right answer is, but we got to look at that stuff. The model I always hold up is up at Saratoga Springs, all right, where Ballston Spa is, and we have one of our nuclear power training plants. We've got about 4,000 kids up there, all right? 4,000? Yeah, about 4,000 kids up there. The base is only 9 buildings. It's geographically separated from the training facility. We don't have a gym. We don't have youth programs, all right? We don't have any of that stuff. What we do have is we have a partnership with the local YMCA, and we pay a membership for each one of the sailors that wants to have a membership, or the families. So now all of a sudden we're out of the overhead, we're out of all that stuff. And oh, by the way, what's the positive of that? Now we have sailors in a community facility interacting with local community, so that develops relationships. Oh, by the way, most of these kids are single, all right, young, straight out of high school, all right, so now they get adopted, all right, or you have young married families, they get adopted. The community learns about the military. We're not big, bad, evil people. We're just like them. We just happen to put a uniform on. There's all kinds of goods. So I don't know what the right answer is, but if you go look at alternate service deliveries, and when I talked about that from our civilian employee perspective, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
You're gonna take my job.
You're going to take my job. Absolutely. So from a CNIC perspective, how many people have we riffed? We haven't. All right? So how have we gotten smaller? Because we've gotten really small compared to where we were.
People retired.
Retirement, attrition, people transfer. So we have to go after this, and we can't have roadblocks and start hyperventilating, oh, my job's going to go away, or I'm going to lose this security, whatever it is. We got to figure out what the right answer is. Once we figure out what the right answer is, then we figure out how to get there. And we're the government. We don't riff. Now, there may be less jobs, but we're not going to fire anybody. So we've got a responsibility to go figure this out. All right? And right now, I'm trying to figure out how to energize us as a command, energize as an organization to start going after this. The CNO, rightly so, really wants us to focus on this, because we keep on doing business the way we're doing it right now, we're going to grind to a halt. You're already hitting your head against the wall. All right? We got to stop hitting our head against the wall. So I would ask you, before I get off of this, read the CNO's campaign design. It's 8 pages. Read the CNIC strategic guidance. It's 12 pages. It's a total of 20 pages with a lot of pictures and big words. So let me just talk a little bit at the tactical level what we're focused on this year. And I'm not going to cover all of these unless you stop me and go in. So safety and security. Where I really want to focus here is on Naval Security Force. That's near and dear to everyone. Especially you go to what just happened in Orlando. You go to what happened at Chattanooga last year. This is a different world. All right. So where are we on Naval Security Forces? So we have been undermanned for several years on our security forces. So 2 summers ago, CNO Greenert finally said enough and authorized us to buy back 1,641 security officer billets. All right, 50-50 split between MAs and DoD police officers. We're in the process of that hiring right now. We're actually ahead of the power curve. They should all be on board by 18. We should have most of the civilian hiring done by the end of 17. All right, that only brings us back to about an 85% manning of the validated, but it's better than where we are right now. Oh, by the way, we've got some bases that are really struggling on manning. So if you go to Naval Support Activity Beaufort, they are manned at 48%. How in the heck do you provide security to base when you only manned at 48%? Got other places, New London. So the bases up in New England are struggling on manning. They're struggling on hiring civilian officers. New London is manned right now at 52%. So they have a lot of auxiliary security force people activated from the tenant commands to help plus out their security force, but they're not trained like our NSF. And oh, by the way, we're taking them away from the tenant command, so now they're not doing the job they were sent to do, so now we're impacting that tenant. So that's the manpower piece that we're working on. The other thing that we've done I'm a ship driver, all right? I grew up with the Surface Force Training Manual. It told me how to do everything on the ship. It told me what the certifications were, what the timeline was, what the requirements, what the training curricula was, everything. And just, you had a question on how to get a ship ready to deploy, you go to the Surface Force Training Manual. We didn't have any such animal for our security forces. We now have a Shore Force Training Manual that does the exact same thing for our security forces. All right, and we also implemented it at a certification process. We weren't certifying our security forces and having a standardized curriculum across the enterprise, so it was different everywhere you went. All right, we had different training programs. So we now do it just like the surface fleet. We do a CART, command assessment, readiness and training. We basically go in. They've done a self-evaluation. We go in and see how well they've done in their self-evaluation. You know, CARTs, well, you and I had many different models. CART and FEPs are when I left the surface fleet. And then FEP is the final evaluation problem. And we go back and certify them after we give them time to fix their discrepancies. We also put together a mobile training team. So now we go out and we teach them and train them on how to do training and how to make sure that they have a force that's ready to go. One of the things we found out is we didn't have an inherent ability to train ourselves on the security force side, so we're now building that. So we're spending a lot of time and effort to get that where it needs to be. AVGs are automatic vehicle gates. We've had a hard time with those over the years. They don't work properly. EM is emergency management, and then dispatch centers. NFE is non-federal entity. This is an objective, and real quickly, why? We have close to 1,000 non-federal entities on our bases. All right. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Sea Cadets, Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, BOTICI, Chief Petty Officer Associations, spouse clubs. They're using real estate, and some are using a lot of real estate, and we don't have real estate agreements in place, and we're not charging them rent. Now, some have passes. Navy Marine Corps Relief doesn't have to pay, and Boys and Girl Scouts don't have to pay. There's some other special laws out there and everything. But in general, we're losing millions of dollars a year in addition to space. Oh, by the way, we made a comment, we don't have enough facilities in some places. All right, we've got to get this put together. Oh, by the way, it's law. The problem that happens is a nonprofit comes to a base CO and says, hey, look at the good I can do for you. Can I have a place on the base? And if you know, from a legal perspective, if you say yes to one, you got to say yes to everybody else, and you just can't do that. So you say no. So that nonprofit then goes to the retired four-star, complains to them who's their sugar daddy, and the retired four-star then rolls in on the base CO and says, what do you mean you won't take care of these guys? So what does the base CO end up doing? He ends up taking care of them, and we've got that all over the place. So we've been working with the vice chief top down to get this in line, and it's going to, I mean, we're already coming up on a year effort on this thing, and it's going to take another year before we get close to a final solution, getting that all put together. 21st Century Sailor, this is really about expanding hours at the gym and the CDCs, which we are in we have done it for the gyms. We went an additional 2 hours in the morning and the evening for the gyms. We're seeing about 10% of our daily throughput during those extra 4 hours, and then about a little over about 60% showing up in the morning between the morning and evening hours. Child development, we went initially in a pilot, 2 additional hours in the morning, 2 additional hours in the evening, 16 hours a day per direction of the Secretary of the Navy. What we've really found is the use is happening the first hour or the second hour of the morning and the first hour in the evening. These additional 2 hours on either side, we're really not getting much use. Oh, by the way, to do the additional 4 hours is $43 million a year. So I don't want to spend the extra resources if it's not being used. The sweet spot seems to be 14 hours a day, vice to 12 hours a day. So that's what we're building out to. Of course, there's all the hiring and training you've got to do with that. Smart grid, energy. Our budget for the CNIC enterprise is about $10 billion a year. All right. Anybody want to take a swag at what our utility bill is for all 70 installations a year? Someone take a swag.
Close to 7
million,
I'm sorry?
500 million.
It's higher. What'd you say?
Close to 7
7.
billion?
No, it's not. It's not that. Not. Thank God, it's not that high. It's $1 billion. All right. So 1/10 of our budget every year goes to utilities. Hence the reason we've got to get more efficient. all right, and drive our utility bills down. So we're spending a lot of effort on energy consumption, reducing the energy consumption, putting in smart systems, all right, smart grids to be able to power share, move power around. So a lot of attention's going on this, working closely with NAVFAC. I'll come back to workforce development. Output metrics, this goes back to the efficiencies on the first slide. So we have always looked at our products by the 122 product lines. But the reality is, to get an airplane off the deck, it isn't just a runway. It's air traffic controllers, it's the lighting, all right? It's the hangars, it's the yellow gear. So we've got to do a better job of putting all the pieces and parts for each of the products that we provide to understand what the true cost is to make that happen. And then once we figure that out, it will give us better ability to articulate the resources we need to provide that service. Yes, ma'am.
So is that integrated with the warfare?
Yes.
NAVSEA and air?
Yes, it is. So well, not NAVs, not the Syscoms, but it is with the warfare enterprises. All right. So we're working that. N5 has got that puppy. So the last one I want to talk about is workforce development. All right. So here's my perspective of where CNIC's at. All right. And we're just, again, a microorganism of Department of the Navy, Department of Defense. All right. But again, I only care about CNIC. CNIC's been around 11 years. So the day before CNIC stood up, the shore was being run with $11 billion more than the day we raised our flag. On the second day of CNIC, everybody rolled in and said, justify the resources you have, hence the data calls. All right? So we have been fighting for our lives in some way, articulating, defining the resources we need to be able to support the fleet fighter and family on the shore. And that's what we've been focused on for 11 years. All right? And we've had money taken from us, so we've reduced our manpower. All right? We're significantly smaller than we were. Then we decided that we thought the Department of Defense thought, or I guess it was government, NSPS was kind of cool. So we said, let's go ahead and put our civilians into NSPS, caused a little bit of turmoil. Then we decided, well, that wasn't a good idea, and we got rid of it, caused more turmoil. All right. Then we decided to go into HR. We decided, hey, the CNIC thing's pretty good. Let's do the same thing with HR. So we brought all HR under CNIC. You think they gave us all the resources we needed? No, they didn't. All right. So after a while, they said, well, this isn't working very well, so let's blow this up. All right. So they blew it up, and if you're in a working capital fund, all right, and you want to have proper servicing ratios for your employees, all right, 1 to 80, all right, so one HR specialist for 80 employees, whatever the number is under 100, what do you do to your rates? You just charge more for your products, and now you have the resources you need to hire the proper number of HR specialists. If you're someone like CNIC, what do? You don't. You don't. All right. Now, if you're an HR professional, all right, and you want to provide the best possible service you can to your employees, where do you go? Well, we're blowing this thing up. Do you stay with the organizations that have servicing ratios of 1 to 160, or do you go to servicing ratios of 1 to 80? You go to 1 to 80 because you're a professional. You want to take care of people. So all of our senior HR folks left. So then we have our junior HR folks. We don't give them the training they need, and what do we do with them the next day? We put them in the senior positions without the training and the years of experience that their predecessors have, and we put them in a situation that's twice as hard as their predecessors were in. Have we set them up for success? Absolutely not. Are we having challenges with hiring? All right, and there's a lot of pieces and parts in this, all right? But you go over to the N1 shop, they are pedaling really, really hard. And oh, by the way, everybody's important, but you know what? N9 could break and the wheel could go down the road, because I look at N1, HR as the hub, all right, and then all the programs as a spoke. And if you break a spoke, the wheel still goes down the road. You break a hub, what happens? You stop, all right? So we're trying to figure, and oh, by the way, they don't have the manpower they need to get the job done. Plus, we've got folks that we haven't provided the proper training or have the longevity and years experience in there, all right? We've put them in a tough situation. And then we also decided to go into sequestration and furlough. So how have we treated our civilian workforce from a CNIC perspective over the last 11 years? I don't think very well, all right? And none of it's been malicious. It's just kind of happened. And oh, by the way, when you have budget cuts, you stop doing workforce development. So we made a decision last year to take 0.25% of the budget for our FTE, which equated to $2.5 million, and invest that back in the workforce. So we started this year, and that lady right there is running it, all right? And so we've spread $2.5 million. That's not a lot, all right? For 20, what's our APF number is 11,000, 12,000. So $2.5 million to train 12,000 people who, oh, by the way, we haven't been doing supervisor training. We haven't been doing professional workforce development. And we've gotten ourselves here in 11 years. We don't fix it overnight. It's going to take a couple of years to get out of this. But we're now providing that training. And oh, by the way, when we're going into 17, we are short about $110 million over the 16 budget that we had to solve internally. So we had to go figure out which Peters to rob to pay which Pauls, because everybody's underfunded. And then we have about $40 to $60 million in force protection bills that have been masked over the past few years because of our under execution of our labor budget. So we've had labor lapse, and we could transfer the money and cover that. Because we were under executing our labor for the last couple of years, what have the green eye shade guys done? They've reduced that, and now we've gotten better also at executing, so now that extra money's not there. So now you got this $110,000 less money, plus you now unmasked $40 to $60 million. And oh, by the way, $40 to $60 million, because we really truly don't know what it is. Go back to defining metrics and understanding your business processes, because we're really not sure what it is. And then they wanted to reduce grounds or janitorial services and grounds maintenance. I wasn't going to go back to where we were during sequestration. That's another $2.5 million. Throw that in, we got to go solve. And the workforce development, that's not funded, but we're not going to stop it. So that's another $2.5 million. So what are we at now? We're at about $170 million we got to solve internally. But I go through all that because I want you to understand that I consider the workforce development important, and we're going to make it happen. All right, and there's some other things we're not going to do, because that $2.5 million, even though it's not enough, is going to at least start getting us in the right direction. All right, so when that comes around, take it. All right, and she just came in yesterday and spent 20 minutes giving me another update as to where we are from an enterprise perspective, each of the regions, and also headquarters in the workforce development. Again, it's taken us 10 years to get here. It's going to take us 2 or 3 years to get out of it. So if you get your training this year, you're going to go, the boss has put his money where his mouth is. If you don't get the training this year, you're going to go, womp, 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 business as usual. All right, and this all plays into command climate, all right, morale, the workforce, it all ties into each other, all right, which is why I'm finishing up in this one, because I'm committed to it and I want you to know it. Thanks for being part of the team, all right? It's great to have you on the CNIC team. As I said earlier, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing in the Navy than what I'm doing now. I've had the privilege of being part of this team for 11 years, and I love it. Do we have our challenges? Yeah, we have our challenges just like everybody else. But if you stop for a moment and look at what CNIC is providing to the fleet fighter and family, it's pretty eye-watering. And for those of us that have been around for a long time with the Navy, if you look at what we're providing now as compared to 5, 10, 15 years ago, it is light years ahead, especially in the quality of life worlds. What we provide now as compared to what we used to is not even comparable. In some areas, such as maybe port ops or air ops, where the CNOs made a conscious decision to reduce the service level because of funding and putting money elsewhere, what we're providing now might be less, i.e. our airfield hours or port hours, overtime, things like that. What we're providing much more efficiently, and we're returning value back to the CNO to spend elsewhere. So this is a great team. Thanks for joining it. Thanks for being on it. I look forward to seeing you out and about. Force and I try to get out and walk the deck plates about once every 2 weeks. Sometimes I'm better than that. Sometimes I'm worse than that, for about an hour at a time. And then we'll see it all hands call. And again, I hope to see, Kiki and I hope to see you all at the open house. I think it's 1500 to 1800 on the 30th. And with that, out here, thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch.